How are performers, coaches and psychologists like us who are looking for those hidden secrets of high performance in sport, how do we build a winning mindset in sports using NLP and sports psychology so that we can influence and deliver our best performance mentally? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Gary-Lavery, and welcome to the Your Mind in Sport podcast. If you have that mindset where you believe in yourself and you believe in your capabilities, even when you're backed into a corner, you will always come out fighting. And just because you cannot physically see your mind doesn't mean that you should not train it. In this episode, I'm going to cover off two super important ways of how you can start to think differently about a situation or a person. And to show you what I mean, and I must be absolutely, completely out of my mind to share with you these 5 secrets of how you can think differently out of a completely different state of mind that will change your behavior instantly, only if you open up your mind now. So as Tom Cruise would say in my all-time favourite movie Top Gun, let's turn and burn right now. Imagine you're sitting in a chair in front of your team manager's desk. You're sitting there waiting for them to walk in and deliver a feedback session about your last performance. And you're sitting there thinking, well, what's the point of this? It's pointless. I know my game better than anybody else. What is there to learn? Then all of a sudden, you hear the door swing open from behind you, and as you slowly turn around and begin to slowly stand up, in walks Pep Guardiola, the current Manchester City football manager, with all of his credibility, all of his experience, all of his knowledge. Now, what are you saying to yourself? Does your mind quickly open up like a parachute to the learning zone? But why would you all of a sudden change your thinking from fixed mindset to growth mindset so that now you are in a really good space to learn? What if your current team manager could deliver the same message as Guardiola, maybe with more emotion because they know you? Would you still be in that learning zone? Do you view any negative feedback as looking through the lens of failure? Are you secretly afraid of pressure situations or difficult people because you might fail at something? Have you ever been told by someone, "You're not good enough," or something similar to this message? Have you ever tried something and failed and thought, well, maybe this isn't for me, or I'm not good at this, and tried something else and failed again, and said maybe, I'm just not good at this either? How do you know you are not good enough at something after only trying once or twice? Well, with all that in mind, would you be interested in allowing your unconscious mind to soak up some new ways of thinking? If you can open up your mind right now to that of curiosity and a willingness to experiment with what you learn, I can absolutely guarantee that new learnings will fall into place fast. Okay, let's move on. So what has Michael Jordan, Walt Disney and Steve Jobs all got in common? Well, after being released from his high school basketball team, Michael Jordan went home, locked himself in his room and cried. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination and having no original ideas. At 30 years old, Steve Jobs was left devastated and decompressed after being removed from the company he started. Now just think about this for a minute. If those 3 people believed that they were the cards that life dealt them in their early days, we wouldn't have seen 3 of the world's greatest inspirational, future-thinking people, would we? In September 2014, I spent 30 days in a place called Hua Hin in Thailand. Wow, what an amazing place this was. And I was there to achieve my dream goal that I set myself 4 years earlier, which was to become a certified trainer of neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy. I was absolutely focused on being successful, and I kept this image inside of my head every single day that on day 30 I would be standing on the stage holding my NLP trainer's plaque. And whilst I was there, my NLP master trainer Bruce Farrow told me to go out and explore the local community. Bruce said, go into the local community and experience the culture and learn about how the local people think, to understand their values, their beliefs and so forth, and also their spiritual side of life. So on day 2 of my stay there, I headed into the local community and found a Muay Thai boxing gym. And I walked into the gym, introduced myself, and I got talking to a gentleman called Artie Bar, who was the Muay Thai trainer, and he was also what's called a Zen master. And after a while of trying to really understand what Artie was saying, translating it in my own mind as English, he said, have you ever been asked the question, how big is your mind? And he did this actually demonstrating with his hands. It was quite funny at the time. And what happened was, during the conversation with Artie, he invited one of his students over. And Artie asked him, where is your mind? And the student said, it's when I perceive my thoughts. It's as if someone was speaking inside of my head. So I guess my mind must be inside of my head. Then Artie motioned for the student to actually approach him. And when the student stood right in front of Artie, he banged his fist down on the student's big toe and said, now where is your mind? And as you can imagine, the student was kind of feeling a little bit discomfort in his foot. Let's just leave it at that for the time being. But if we notice a sensation in our foot, it's actually experienced in our mind, right? So perhaps our mind is the size of our body, but we also experience what we see. So perhaps our mind is as big as our field of vision. What if I asked you to imagine the farthest star in the galaxy? Now how big is your mind? So ultimately, our mind has the potential to be as big as the universe. The more open our mind, the bigger it is. The more consumed by worry or concerns, the smaller it is. So what do we mean by a fixed mindset and a growth mindset? Dr. Carol Dweck, following decades of research and study, identified that we as humans operate out of 2 mindsets. The 2 mindsets that we need to be aware of are our fixed mindset and our growth mindset. So people with a fixed mindset believe that you are born with a certain amount of intelligence or potential, and that's it. Some people with a fixed mindset would avoid challenges, shy away from things they don't know, unable to handle criticism or feedback. They do not carry out any actions without seeking approval. They are threatened by the success of others, and they seem to give up pretty easily. People with a growth mindset are confident and resilient. They would say, your mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. Somebody with a growth mindset would view challenges as opportunities, acknowledge and embrace their weaknesses also, learn to give and receive constructive criticism, focus on the process instead of the end result, be inspired by the success of others, think about learning as brain training, understanding failure as an opportunity to grow, and persist in the face of setbacks. And I believe that when you focus on problems, you will have more problems. But when you focus on possibilities, the more opportunities to learn and grow seem to fall right in front of your eyes. Look at things this way. The majority of people think today that if we make a mistake, we failed at something. And because of this, our willingness to learn from our mistakes falls off the end of a cliff. And what I'm saying here is that if you don't value a mistake, then how can you improve and learn from it so you can do something differently next time? I also believe that mistakes are important in our growth and progression. So, for example, instead of saying, I'm no good at this, I'm just not, start saying, I can learn this skill through practice, and this will help me grow my personal confidence, and then I shall become better than what I am right now very soon. And like I said in previous episodes of Your Mind in Sport, you get to choose your outcome. You get to choose how you behave in certain situations. Now, if you go all in with the attitude of, no matter what happens, I'm going to learn something, and you persist and you tell yourself that time and time again, you will get the result that you want, guaranteed. And you know what? You might not get it first time. You might not get it second time. But maybe third time, because of your persistence, could be the right time that you achieve your outcome. And one thing I just want to say right now is, when the window of opportunity is open, that's when you work twice as hard. And with effort and hard work, that's when you turn results in your favour. And just one final thing before I uncover the 5 secrets of building a winning mindset. I just want to quickly talk about the iceberg illusion. Now, success is always measured in outcomes and what you accomplish. What rarely gets the recognition it deserves is the effort that has been put in behind the scenes of that success, including your thoughts, your emotions, your skills, and your behaviour. Now, an iceberg, as you'll probably know, has 2 parts. But for this illusion, I want you to think like this. So what people see above the surface and what people don't see is below the surface. If you, like me, get mesmerised by someone's success, which is above the surface, and don't count all the persistence, the failure, the sacrifice, the disappointment, good habits, hard work, and dedication, it doesn't really give us the full picture of how they achieved their success. But one thing I do want you to remember here is that success leaves clues. Now, in NLP world, we call this modelling. And modelling is where we find someone or someone's behaviour that is worth modelling. So, for example, if you were looking to learn a new skill very quickly, then we would look for who is the highest performer who demonstrates this skill really well, i.e. an expert. And then what we do in the presence of this expert is to discover and uncover their values, so what's important to them, their beliefs, what do they believe about themselves, their strategies, how they do certain things, how they think about particular tasks or problems. And then once we've got all that evidence, then we can install that within ourselves, which will then govern and change our behaviour and those results. But what I'll do is, in a future episode of Your Mind in Sport, I'll dedicate a full episode and teach you how you can do NLP modelling. So, big drum roll. Let's see this as an opportunity for you to switch mindsets from fixed to growth. Just like jumping into a different car and heading off into a different direction towards your dream. And here are the 5 strategies and secrets to develop a growth mindset. Secret number 1, don't hurry to I can't. So when people start a new task or are doing one that is very difficult, it's sometimes tempting to say, I can't do this, or I can't be bothered. Now, with a bit of mental energy, you might be surprised by how well you can do the task and how much you enjoyed it by just keeping your mental parachute open during that period. Secret number 2, the power of yet. This is a simple word but can have a huge impact on your behaviour. There is a huge difference between saying, I'm not good at this and I'm not good at this yet. It suggests you may get there with some hard work and resilience. Secret number 3, be curious. When you ask yourself these powerful questions, you can move your mindset by reflecting and asking yourself these 5 powerful questions, which are: what did I learn from today's performance? What steps did I take to make me successful today? What are some of the different strategies I could have used? How did I keep going when things got tough? And finally, what would I do differently next time? Now, these are great questions to ask yourself, whether you play grassroots sport, academy sports, amateur sports, or even professional sports. Now, the point here is it's okay to say all the good stuff and all the positive stuff about the performance. But when that performance goes the other way, can you still be honest with yourself? Especially if you have made a mistake. They can help you reflect and focus on what you need to improve on in the future. So we taking something now, what's just happened, starting to think about it in a more positive way, and then taking those learnings with us into the next training session or the next competitive game. And these questions will change your inner game, guaranteed. Secret number 4, failing smarter. Now, every person on the planet, I don't care who you are, experiences failure at some stage in their life. But can you feel better about this situation? Of course you can. This doesn't mean failing more often. One way to feel better is to ask someone for their feedback, no matter how uncomfortable it gets, and then use it. Now, the 2 things that you need to be mindful of with feedback is, 1, you can accept it for what it is and thank the person for the feedback. Or number 2, you can think about it. You can reject it if it's not something that is in your line of sight and thank the person for the feedback. But obviously, you wouldn't tell them you're going to reject it. You would just thank them for the feedback. Secret number 5 is take responsibility. So having a sense of curiosity, courage, and responsibility can be really helpful. It can help you learn new things. Now think about this for a moment. Sometimes new plus the unknown will equals scary. But it doesn't have to be this way. Sometimes we experience things that can be the most rewarding and most exciting. But please remember this. Practice will help you grow your mind. So take responsibility of doing this today and turn learning into action. So what if you start to think about which mindset you are operating out of in any given situation? Would this help you reach your potential faster? Or what if you started to think about the size of your mind and use this when thinking about your dreams and your goals? How would this doing increase your motivation around what is possible? And finally, what if you considered this quote by Martin Luther King Jr.? If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Would this pull you closer to your dream goals? Yes or no? So as I finally pull the curtain down on another episode of Your Mind in Sport, thank you very much for tuning in right now. I really hope that this has been useful. And I also am going to say something that I actually believe in, that if you learn something and it hits the spot, you need to put this into action straight away. Don't leave the learning sitting on the table, otherwise it will just get wiped off. In my world, I believe there is no failure, only feedback. So if you do have some feedback regarding previous episodes of Your Mind in Sport, or this particular episode that you've just listened to, then please send me an email to gary-lavery at nowtowow.co.uk, or you can reach out for me on LinkedIn by sending me a private message and just let me know what your feedback is, and every feedback is taken on board. One final thing is, if you are enjoying these episodes, but you still feel that there is maybe a subject that I haven't actually covered off yet, and you want me to do some research and then come back and teach you on a future episode, then please let me know. I'm here for you. You are my audience, and I'll play to my audience. Simple as that. And again, if you are a sports performer or a sports coach, maybe you have one or two things that you need to address from a mental skills perspective, or you're curious as to how mental skills can actually improve your performance as a coach, the conversation side of things, then reach out to me on the following number, which is 0191 300 0811. Let's have that game-changing conversation chat today. And that's it for another episode of Your Mind in Sport. The curtain is just about down. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you have a great week. Stay safe wherever you are. And I'll speak to you again next week on the Your Mind in Sport podcast. Bye for now.